Thanks once again for joining us. Today's focus is Tesla/Elon's Bitcoin dilemma. Should I stay or should I go? Is our subject for today. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. I wanted to show you a little bit of the view here. As you can see, the sun positioning doesn't allow us to do a direct to sunlight, but we're here at the beach here in Florida, in the Tampa area, and I thought I'd give you a quick view while sitting on my Brompton, and we can get a little bit of a deflection of the sound coming from the wind by sort of sequestering behind here. So the focus of our talk today is the fact that Tesla's stock price was down $11 this morning. The driver, we believe, for this is clearly there's been some bad news in terms of sales in China and elsewhere. And it seems as though the negative Tesla press is piling on despite the fact that the company is doing fine. Now, there's an interesting sort of dilemma that's developing here, which is Bitcoin, should Tesla stay or should Tesla go? Now, what the problem is that, as you know, Elon, I guess his cost basis for the Bitcoin on Tesla's balance sheet, $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. We thought the average cost was about $35,000 per, but I was told that might be between $31,000 and $32,000 per. So right now, Bitcoin, the last time I checked this morning, about a half hour ago, was about $38,500. Now, if Tesla chose to sell all of their Bitcoin currently, they would be in a great position because there'd be a nice profit to book to the balance sheet. The problem, though, is something called impairment accounting, which is if in fact Tesla did not or does not sell those Bitcoins prior to a dip below their costs, they now have to immediately announce the losses to the government and in the form of an SEC filing. And so the question then is, should they A, sell their Bitcoin earlier, make some money and not have to report anything negative on the balance sheet at the next quarter, or B, should they hold the Bitcoin as Elon has described and now end up taking fairly severe losses? And so the answer I'm coming up with is we don't know what they're going to do. The logical thing to do is to sell, but we don't know if Elon will stand by his commitment to not sell any Bitcoin as the price falls dramatically. So, if they lost money or lost the whole thing, that would be about $1.5 billion loss. I don't think they would lose the whole thing. I think that it would get into the 25,000 realm and stick around in that zone. But still, that would end up being, maybe a $500 million loss for the company. And the reason we decided to focus on this today is the fact that when you look at Tesla's growth, everything about their growth rate influences what the stock price is. So the questions that are popping up for investors are, is Tesla growing? Are their earnings increasing at a certain pace? Is everything running smoothly? When you have hiccups like losses on Bitcoin, potentially, those kind of things are unknowns. And what it does is it can panic investors in a negative way. So I really think that Elon has more of an obligation to his shareholders than he does to other Bitcoin holders in that he would sell. But again, we don't know what he's going to do, and there's the potential for major harm. Another strange data point about this whole thing is when Elon announced that they would no longer accept Bitcoin as payment for a legitimate reason of how much fossil fuels were being used to produce those Bitcoins, then I really felt like we were in an interesting zone where it was quite obvious that there was a need for them to pull out of all their Bitcoin activities at the same time rather than back up in one way but not the others. So I believe that the drop in price was expected based on the fact that it was kind of a no confidence vote that had emerged when it came to what was happening with Bitcoin. So I wanted to bring all this up to you because it is definitely affecting the stock price and could affect it greatly. So you could throw scenarios out there. What if Tesla or Bitcoin all of a sudden fell by 50 to 75% in the short term and Tesla didn't have a chance to get out? That could be $1 billion loss that hits the company, and they have plenty of cash around, but it's not necessarily just the loss that's influential. It's the sort of logic stream that surrounds that loss that big time affects investor perceptions and willingness to put their money out there and trust Tesla and Elon to do business. So we're now in a fairly interesting dilemma, and what he will decide, what he will do, we'll find out over the next 2 or 3 weeks. But this also brings up the fact that what the markets really love is predictability. So if there's an unpredictable situation like this, this is a reason to just sell and get away and not be around for a lot of investors, because uncertainties that are self-inflicted, induced in this manner, that are not market-driven, are the type of things that make it harder to get investors that are safety-oriented to join the party of buying and retaining certain stocks. So I'm hopeful right now that he sells. That way we don't have to worry about this, but we really don't know what's going to happen. But as of what he said earlier this week, looks like he's going to hang on and he's going to take the loss instead of sell these shares, which I think would be really unfortunate. But I do not know what he's going to do. I just know what I'm hoping he does. So one of the ideas we've been sort of developing for a long time for our show is we helped a lot of people make decisions on buying Tesla stock and what might happen with the prices, et cetera, over time. I actually had a conversation with one of our friends of the show who actually made a lot of money on Tesla, and then he lost a couple of $100,000 in the last couple of months as things have dipped off. And I was sort of stunned because I just wanted to note that there's a theme that's emerged with the market. If you check CBS Viacom, the stock price got cut in half in only 3 weeks. And CBS Viacom is one of the most stable earners and names in the history of American business and television. So the issue that pops up is that if a company of that quality can be cut in half in a couple of weeks, there's no doubt that a company like Tesla, that's a lot younger, a lot more unpredictable, could also be cut in half in a couple of weeks. So I'm bringing this up because today I wanted to add on, please remember to like and subscribe, by the way, to our regular show to just discuss the fact that you really want to consider your alternatives here. Number one, if you're in a 401k situation with your shares, this might be a good time to sell and then look to buy back in once all the dust has settled with the issues happening with the company right now, because I believe we could end up significantly lower, like 20 to 40% lower on the stock price over the next month is a real possibility. Number two option would be to hedge. If you don't have the ability to exit without a huge tax bite, one thing to consider would be to hedge. I usually don't make recommendations on what options to purchase, but I really think something like a 500 put or a 550 put going out 6 months to a year, if you can, would be an excellent instrument to hedge your portfolio with. And the question is, how much should you spend? At a minimum level, I think you should spend at least 3 to 5% of the value of your portfolio on puts. But if you're serious about hedging, at least a 10% of the value of your portfolio would be a great idea. And the question is, where do you get this money if you don't have it sitting around? And the answer might be to actually do a margin loan, because the interest on a margin loan is deductible because you did it in a form as you're doing investments. Now, the way to think about it, if you do a put in this manner, is as more like an insurance policy. You're paying a premium. It protects you for a certain amount of time. Either the stock will go up or go down. If it goes up, you make more money on your stock, and that way it would pay for the cost of the option. If it goes down, you make money on the puts, and now you have a great situation because the losses you're taking on the stock, you're getting in the form of the put value increase. So this is sort of a sketch example of how one might use a hedge in this situation. And I just think that this is a very, very dangerous period that we're in for Tesla and the stock market. And it's a great time to make sure you're properly insured or protected, because I think things could get extremely ugly very quickly. So next, I wanted to move on to, again, reminder, like and subscribe, please. We also want to encourage you to join us on Patreon for more intensive discussions of creating an investment strategy, as well as videos, charts, etc. We also would like to next move on to our health tips. First, encourage you to consider what's called forest bathing. And as you can see, we're kind of in the beach area. As you probably know, when you're near water and the ocean is coming across the water in this fashion, what you'll find is that there's a negative pH relative to inland. And that pH is kind of a herbal, it's a medicinal process. The next thing to consider is, don't forget your 25 leg lifts a day. Also wanted to encourage you, do not eat more than a very light meal, as in a salad, prior to lovemaking, because this will ensure that you have more blood flow to your extremities, during which you can more enjoy that activity. We also wanted to encourage you to consider 2-5 or some of the other fasting diets as a goal for better mental health and physical health as well. And then, finally, don't forget, don't go to bed within 4 hours of eating, minimum 2 hours to let the food digest before you go to bed so you don't have acid reflux issues. At any rate, this is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Tschüss German, au revoir French, lehitrohot, Hebrew, Choda Hafez Farsi, Zdravstvuyte Russian, Ni hao ma Chinese, Konbanwa Japanese, Hey do Swedish, good day our friends in Australia. And Jamaica, we say, enough respect, walk good. And I wanted to get you guys some video today where these are folks doing what's called kite sailing. And basically they're prepping here for exit. And we're going to finish up with our video of them prepping and executing today.